Welcome back, everybody. Meek Mill has been in sort of a spotlight ever since he went back to prison for violating parole, which he and his team have disputed given the circumstances surrounding the judge and the arresting officer in the previous case that he had. Recently, Meek Mill has been freed per order of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and I'm glad to say that this EP is a strong return for the Philly rapper, so let's get into it. I love the name of this track, first and foremost. Meek Mill is feeling himself on this absolute banger of a track that was produced by Swizz Beatz, who also serves as a great hype man on here. As soon as you listen to the intro on this track, you know that Meek is about to go in. I don't really know what's making up the melody of this track, but it's dark and grimy with this fat bass line and claps. And the breakdowns serve as a really great slowdown to build that hype for the beat to come back in. Swizz also showers this track with a lot of intricate attention to detail, really highlighting the energy and the feeling of beating the system that Meek brings to this track. There's not really any crazy lyricism on this track, but it doesn't really need it. It's not really about that, and the monstrous flexing and energy just get you moving. It's an absolute beast of a song following Meek's release from prison, and I just wish I could see this live. Meek. Dangerous, on the other hand, shows a softer side of Meek following that crazy energy from the first track. I think P&B Rock and Jeremiah did a really great job when it comes to bringing that seductive sound that complements the piano and the guitar really well. Each of their verses are short but sweet, and they don't overstay their welcome, with their duet really being the highlight on this track for me. Meek's verses on here are alright, there's nothing too original when it comes to bringing some real emotion onto this track, and their bluntness is a little bit awkward for my taste, especially with bars like, "The pussy wet, call it angel dust," which is just a little bit cringy. I'm not a girl, but if you are, I feel like even if you do find some of the bars on here a little bit cringy, P&B Rock and Jeremiah are on the chorus long enough to kind of overcome it a bit. And the slow groove ambiance of the production with the dreamy-eyed piano melodies on here creates a really solid late-night mood. Meek brings back the hype on this club track with longtime collaborator Ja Lil Beats handling the production. The eerie late-night piano really gives it that club vibe with this hard-hitting drum pattern and these haze in the background, which I think in general are a little bit overused, but on this track I think complement it pretty well, because they're pretty subtle and there's a lot more going on in the production than just the haze. I think the haze just hype it up really well. And Meek Mill brings a really energetic flow to this song and switches it up a lot, and he combines it with some pretty tasteful vocal layering that keeps the energy from fading. I think the third verse on here shines really well as a closing verse for this song, and the writing is nothing spectacular, with it being a little bit repetitive sometimes, and I feel like the chorus is lacking too, with the piano melody under it just being a little bit lackluster, but overall it's still a really fun song. On the closing song of this EP, Meek Mill finds use of his time in the spotlight by using this song to spread a message about racism, the struggles that he faced growing up, the judicial system, the way that he kind of relates or understands the drug culture that kind of permeates through new wave rappers that we see going on right now, a bunch of other current kind of social issues. This track subtly interpolates the message by Grandmaster Flash, and even though I don't think this song will stand the test of time like that song, I still think they did a really great job with it, creating a sharp but spacey beat for Meek to spill his thoughts out onto. Out of all the songs on this very short EP, this song has some of the most beautiful production on it. Great underlying and vibrating bass lines, reverberating snares and kicks, with some vocal additions towards the end that fill the space real nicely. There's just so much going on this track, and it's all placed real nicely, and there's just so much attention to detail. I also really love Miguel's feature on this, on the chorus, and how it's grounded in the reality that Meek Mill kind of projects through his lyrics, but it's also very uplifting, with these subdued kicks and this stripped away production that allows his voice to complement the track. Meek also says a lot on here, and in comparison to the rest of the tracks, which I know are meant to be different, it's pretty well written. It's not a Black Thought or a Nas or something, but those guys are in a different lane. And for someone who's in the spotlight for it recently and has been through the things that he's talked about, I think he gets it out in a pretty clear and concise way without it being really awkward, and it's pretty descriptive without being preachy or overbearing. It's a great track and something I almost wouldn't expect from Meek. For a 4-song EP, there's not really a song on here that I didn't enjoy. It's very concise, with Meek being able to talk about the things that have been on his mind and the things that he's been experiencing, as well as trying to change, while also hitting you with major energy and hits, and making great use of the features that he has. Some of the writing on here is a little bit corny, like on the song Dangerous, and 1 AM could have just been a little bit better, in my opinion. And some of the material on here just sounds a little bit familiar, maybe even too familiar to some of his previous songs, especially off the Dream Chaser series. But overall, this is a really solid EP, and I think I'm gonna give this a solid 7 out of 10. I will see y'all again soon. There are a couple of albums coming out. I want to do the Cool G album and Wiz Khalifa's new album that's coming out, so I'll try to get those out as quick as I can. And until next time, peace.